So I want to tell all of you just thank you and God bless all of you.
Streitz loved to ride motorcycles around Billings. Some of his friends said this past summer was the most fun they'd ever had, cruising the city streets with Streitz. His godmother remembered him as a man that would help others.
Everybody says he saved them. He saved more people than I could even count. The day that little boy was born, I swear the sun shined brighter than anything I've ever seen before in my life.
On Monday, Streitz's organs and tissues were donated, a last gift that could help up to 100 other people. Streitz's father, Elder Tracy J. Starr, who also serves as a pastor at All Nations Christian Fellowship Church, offered a message to the crowd. He told parents not to impose their dreams on their children and let their child make their own decisions in life.
They have their own personalities. They have their own dreams, their own desires, not your desires. Don't try to live your life through your children. Let them live their lives. Who are we going to turn the world over to if we destroy this generation now? They cannot become who we need them to become, and that's the best of them.
Following the flashlight celebration of life, friends and family members of Kane cruised down to Dillard's from the Billings Rims for one last cruise to honor Kane. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thank you, Mitch. Well, a suspect is now behind bars after reports of an attempted abduction in Lockwood this afternoon, followed by a dangerous chase on Interstate 94. The Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office said in a social media post that after the attempted abduction, deputies learned that the suspect was in a stolen vehicle out of Billings. Deputies located that vehicle in Huntley, and a chase ensued on I-94. The suspect allegedly attempted to ram law enforcement vehicles, even drove the wrong way on the interstate. The vehicle was stopped with spike strips near the Pompey's Pillar exit, and the suspect apprehended after a short foot chase. The name of the suspect and further details about the attempted abduction have not yet been released. Well, the nation's supply chains were strained at the start of the pandemic, but for some Montana small business owners and even larger chains, it's still hard to get some very sought-after items used by a lot of people all over the country. And those items are guns and ammo. MTN's Andy Curtis has the story.
We all remember the early days of the pandemic when things left store shelves fast. Basic cooking items, hand sanitizer, and
right after people figured out they couldn't get enough toilet paper, they started thinking about ammunition.
Unlike TP though, ammo shelves are still emptier than normal. Gun and ammunition sales will often surge based on hunting seasons and national events. So a run on ammo in the past chaotic year wasn't a surprise. But for Ed Beal, owner of Capital Sports in Helena, this time around is different than anything he's ever seen.
I've been here 36 years. Our company's been here 50 years. We've seen all these cycles. This is definitely the biggest one of those cycles in terms of the impact.
The reason, of course, is COVID-19. The virus impacted ammo manufacturers in many different ways, but it all resulted in a loss of production. Combine that with the already high demand for ammunition that we have here in Montana, and you find yourself in the situation we're in right now.
The worst thing we have is to say no, we don't have it. But we have been treated well by our vendors, and we've had a good supply overall. Right now it's the skinniest that I've ever seen.
Skinniest, but not completely gone.
We receive shipments of product every single weekday. We don't know when it's coming or how much. We've gotten partial shipments all throughout this time, and we've gotten full shipments.
Not an ideal situation for Capital Sports and other small businesses that sell ammunition, but things are trending in the right direction, even if it will take a little time.
Well, I think it's still a long haul. It really is, and their production capacities are generally higher than they were through parts of the last fall, but I think it's going to be a while. It'll come back gradually.
To learn more about the ammo shortage here in Montana, head on over to our website. Reporting in Helena, Andy Curtis, MTN News.
Ed recommends being patient if you are still looking for ammo and checking back with vendors frequently. All 100 U.S. senators are now sworn in as jurors for former President Donald Trump's impeachment trial next month. They were sworn in this afternoon after Democrats from the House of Representatives delivered an article of impeachment to the Senate yesterday. They're accusing the former president of inciting insurrection, referring to the January 6th riot on Capitol Hill. However, some Republicans are questioning whether the Senate has the right to even hold the trial, with Kentucky Senator Rand Paul going as far as trying to get the case dismissed today. The Senate rejected that attempt, but the 55 to 45 procedural vote shows there likely won't be enough votes for a conviction. Montana Senator Jon Tester says he believes there has to be accountability in order to have unity in the country. Senator Steve Daines says the trial is all about revenge.
We take this very, very seriously, as we do with any impeachment. We'll listen to the information that's given to us and make a decision based off of that.
The Constitution is clear in Article 1, Section 3. It is for sitting presidents, not citizens, of which President Trump now is. And President Biden could end this right now. You should pick up the phone, call Chuck Schumer, call Nancy Pelosi, tell them to stop.
The impeachment trial is scheduled to start February 8th. In a surprising move today, the Montana House reversed itself from yesterday and voted down a bill that would have prohibited certain medical treatments for transgender youth in the state. On Monday, the House gave House Bill 113 debate stage approval on a 53 to 47 vote. But on the bill's final binding vote today, 4 additional Republicans voted no, leading to its rejection 49 to 51. Among those changing their vote to no was GOP Majority Leader Sue Vinton of Billings. House Bill 113 said anyone under 18 in Montana could not undergo sex change surgery or get certain medical treatments for a possible change in gender. Opponents said the bill discriminated against transgender youth and interfered in a personal medical decision. The House is scheduled to take a final vote tomorrow on a separate bill that bars transgender student athletes from playing on sports teams different than their biological sex. 18 Republicans and all 33 House Democrats voted no today on House Bill 113. But Montana lawmakers also argued today over what type of testimony should be allowed during a hearing on a bill to block sanctuary cities in the state. House Bill 200, sponsored by Republican Representative Ken Holman, would prohibit state and local governments from putting in sanctuary policies. That means refusing to provide information about someone's immigration status or refusing to comply with federal requests to detain someone for possible immigration violations. Now, there are currently no cities in Montana with sanctuary policies, but supporters say they want to proactively discourage them. During the testimony, the committee chairman asked 2 opponents of the bill to avoid talking about race or racism, saying immigration status and not race was at issue. Democrats on the committee then argued that proponents of the bill had previously made inappropriate statements about undocumented immigrants' impact on communities.
To subject us in the committee to something that's off the bill, which is a violation of the rules, and second, to go down a road of supposition of what she thinks his bill was brought for, I'd still stick to my objection, sir. I don't think this is part of this committee.
We have heard testimony in this committee from others that have made suppositions about the opposition and made pretty broad statements that had no basis of fact and were not rooted in the legislation that was being brought. So if that is a criteria that you're going to apply, it needs to be applied on all sides consistently.
The legislature passed a very similar bill in 2019, but it was vetoed by then Governor Steve Bullock. All right, turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed Mcintosh. Ed, we've had a pretty mild winter so far, but it feels like we've had some of the coldest temperatures in a while.
That's right. Yeah, last couple of days certainly rank right up there. Let's take a look. You still can't beat that stretch of cold weather in October. That's the top 3 there. We try to pick out the top 5, but there were a couple of ties in there. But yesterday and today, among the coldest that we've seen so far, along with December 13th. But that cold weather in October also brought a lot of snow with it as well. The average snowfall we would have seen through today, 27 inches based on the 30-year average. So far this year, it's been at 31. But take a look as we break it down. October ended up with 2/3 of the snowfall we've seen so far. So all the cold and snow was very early in the season. Could we start to see more of that as we start getting into the next couple of days? We'll talk about that with the forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Ed. As COVID-19 cases around the world surpass 1 million today, state health authorities report another 11 COVID-19 related deaths here in Montana. Close to home, 3 of those deaths are in Carbon County, 2 in Yellowstone, 1 in Rosebud County. The total victims in Yellowstone County now stand at 177. And statewide, 1,180 people have now died. More than 87,000 Montanans have recovered. On the national front, President Biden wants to overhaul the nation's coronavirus vaccine effort. Above all, that includes increasing the available supply both now and in coming weeks and months. Natalie Brand has more tonight from the White House.
More doses, more coordination. President Biden is setting ambitious new goals for tackling the coronavirus pandemic.
This is a wartime effort.
The administration says it will begin shipping 10 million vaccine doses to states next week, up from the current average of just over 8.5 million.
We will both increase the supply in the short term by more than 15% and give our states and local partners more certainty about when the deliveries will arrive.
Flanked by his COVID-19 coordinator, the president also promised increased transparency with state and local partners, so they'll have a 3-week forecast of what's available.
Until now, we've had to guess how much vaccine to expect for the next week, and that's what the governors had to do. How much am I getting next week? This is unacceptable.
In his remarks, President Biden did not repeat a statement he made Monday when he said he believed by spring anyone who wants a vaccine could get one.
The brutal truth is, it's going to take months before we can get the majority of Americans vaccinated. Months.
The White House plans to buy another 200 million doses from Moderna and Pfizer. That would bring the U.S. supply up to 600 million, enough to immunize 300 million people. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
To date, the coronavirus has claimed more than 425,000 lives in the U.S. That's out of a global total of 2.1 million COVID-19 deaths now. Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2, we'll meet Barney, a dog who now has a second chance at life, thanks to one Good Samaritan and a bunch of people looking to make his forever home a reality. And in sports, from hoops to mats, the Tuesday night sports scene has a little bit of everything. Highlights on the way a little later.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Hundreds, if not thousands, of dogs across Montana are waiting in shelters for their forever families, each with a story. We're shining the spotlight on one incredibly resilient pup and the passionate people who didn't give up on him. MTN's Shannon Newth introduces us to Barney.
Good morning, buddy. Let's see.
This is Barney. He's had quite the journey and come a long way in a short time.
Do we have a wagging tail? What?
This is what Barney looked like just 5 weeks ago, skin and bones. He was rescued by Paws of Chinook, thanks to the tip of a dog-loving Good Samaritan who saw Barney laying on someone's porch in bad shape.
The vet's best guess is that he hadn't eaten at the point where we got him. He hadn't eaten in months.
The vet's outlook for Barney was bleak.
It was pretty heartbreaking. And so I kind of knelt down by the exam table and I said, Barney, what do I do? Well, he didn't have a name yet. So I just said, what do I do, buddy? And he wasn't done. And how do I say, yeah, he's done if he's telling me he's not done? How do I do that? I can't do that.
He spent days not moving, laying in a bed in a shelter. Then one day, that changed.
Of course, immediately just started bawling because he was standing and he was wagging a tail and he was super excited to just be here.
Good boy, Barney. Slowly but surely, Barney is getting stronger through walks, special food, medications, and just being allowed to be a dog. He's had some help in his recovery journey, thanks to a new friend, Fancy.
Fancy. That's good. Barney, sit. Oh, that's a good boy. They have such a strong bond, and I think that maybe Fancy has kind of been part of his healing.
Hewitt is hoping Barney and Fancy will be adopted as a pair once Barney gains more weight.
We learn so much more from them than from each other. You can feel how grateful he is. He just wants to go run and play. That's all he wants. And we try to give him that every single day.
In Great Falls, Shannon Newth, MTN News.
Well, Barney isn't quite ready for adoption just yet, but anyone interested in adopting him, and hopefully Fancy as well, can reach out to Paws Chinook. And well, it's hard to know for sure. The vet guesses that Barney's between 2 and 4 years old, and Fancy is somewhere around 6 months old. All right, up next in weather, our burst of cold weather seems to be passing. Ed has details on our climb out of the cold, just how warm it might get after the break.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with meteorologist Ed Mcintosh.
Welcome back. Most of us woke up to the fog this morning, and Bruce South just happened to have a little better view of it here as we take a look out towards Red Lodge Mountain. So poor visibility first thing in the day. Temperatures really didn't have much of a chance to warm up in the afternoon. We'll see a few flurries, isolated patches of fog, but already starting to see a shift in the weather pattern this evening. 22 was the warmest we reached at the Billings Airport today, 15 degrees cooler than average for this time of the year. Sunset at 5:12, getting a little more sunlight every day. We only added a few flurries in the area, so it was nothing measurable as far as precipitation goes. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how things are stacking up this evening with the Stockman Bank weather cam at 16 degrees. We've got just a little bit of a north breeze at 3 miles per hour. That's helping out a little bit with the wind chill, but as we get into the overnight hours of tonight, we'll have some cold temperatures, a few flurries or patchy fog around, but clearing even overnight into tomorrow helps warm things up in the afternoon. Tomorrow a transition day into warmer temperatures that will follow once we get into the next few days. Cold temperatures already along the high line, looking at anything from Lewistown northward into the single digits and low teens, already 3 below in Williston, North Dakota, 1 in Glendive. Miles City, you're reporting 19, 11 in Sheridan a couple of minutes ago, 1 degree colder in Cody at 10, and then 11 degrees also for you in Livingston and also in Bozeman. So there's not much wind, but where there's even a little bit of a breeze, we're already seeing those wind chill values pushing down 15 to over 20 below zero as we look into northeastern Montana, northwest North Dakota, the same area that we saw the wind chill advisory last night back into effect tonight. But we're also watching for some wintry driving conditions here. Once we get from Bozeman, West Yellowstone, down around Ennis, Dillon, that will be mainly heading into tomorrow and then into Thursday. So let's set the table for you here. We've got our weather system moving in from the Pacific Northwest. That's really not going to affect us too much. It's really helping to build in a ridge of high pressure. So we've got the cold air across us with the northerly winds continuing to move through. That'll be the story overnight heading into tomorrow. A chilly start, bitter cold wind chills in northeastern Montana, some patchy fog, but we'll start watching those snow showers develop in southwest Montana, starting to spread into the Continental Divide as we make it through the day tomorrow. We'll start to see those travel concerns